James trudged behind Ben, hands buried deep in his pockets, shoulders slouched, gaze fixed on the smooth, polished floor of the mall. Each step felt heavy, weighted with exhaustion, with the kind of silence that followed heartbreak. He didn't feel like moving, talking, or existing outside of himself. Yet maybe, just maybe, the hum of life around him was better than being trapped with his thoughts. Anything that didn't include Rose's ghostly presence, replaying every mistake, every argument, every what-if that had tormented him since she'd left. The mall was alive, in a way James hadn't noticed in months. Music flowed from hidden speakers, melting into laughter, chatter, and the rhythmic tapping of feet against tile. The scent of fried food, sweet pastries, and sugary drinks wrapped around him, making the air feel dense and thick with human presence. Groups of friends laughed loudly as they passed, couples held hands tightly, and children darted ahead of their parents, their squeals and shouts echoing in the cavernous space. James felt distant from it all, like a ghost drifting at the edges of a vivid painting. And for once, he didn't mind. Ben strode ahead confidently, his grin sharp and effortless. He waved at girls he didn't really know, exchanged quick nods with random acquaintances, acting as though every corner of the mall belonged to him. James lagged behind, the space between them growing, feeling almost comforting. He had faded into the background so long that invisibility felt like relief rather than neglect. And then, like a sunbeam breaking through storm clouds, she appeared. She stood at the ice cream counter, leaning slightly to one side, her gaze intent on the menu as if each flavor held the secrets to life itself. Strawberry. Vanilla. Her braids cascaded over her shoulders, neat yet relaxed enough to sway gently when she tilted her head. There was an ease about her that radiated warmth. Her smile, when it came, wasn't forced, loud, or performative. It was soft, effortless, and genuine, the kind that could make the harshest of days feel suddenly lighter. James stopped mid-step. The noise of the mall blurred into a muted hum, the chatter fading, the music dissolving. All that remained was her calm, radiant, unexpectedly magnetic. Ben's whisper pulled him back, sharp and teasing. "Bro, you're staring." James didn't respond. His brain had short-circuited, caught in a loop of disbelief and fascination. Ben smirked knowingly. "Go talk to her." "Nah." Before James could protest, she turned. Their eyes locked. "Oh, sorry," she said with a laugh that was light and easy, not mocking. "Do you know which one's better?" James blinked, mind scrambling. He hadn't rehearsed this. He hadn't prepared for a moment that felt this. Effortless, this real. I like vanilla," he managed, voice cracking slightly. Her smile widened. "Perfect. Then I'll take strawberry." James frowned slightly. "Why?" She tilted her head, playful. "Because someone has to balance you out." A laugh escaped him, light, unrestrained, from somewhere deep inside where laughter hadn't lived for months. The heaviness in his chest, the dull ache of absence, softened slightly. "I'm Benita," she said, lifting her cup in a quiet greeting. "James," he replied, the sound of his name tasting different, lighter, as if he'd remembered it himself for the first time. Ben, pretending to check his phone but clearly eavesdropping, stepped forward. "Great. Since we're all friends now, let's eat together," he said, grabbing a tray. James opened his mouth to protest, but Benita shrugged with a soft laugh. "Why not? Ice cream tastes better with company." They found a small table near the edge of the food court, its distance giving them a private bubble amidst the chaotic symphony of mall life. For the first time, James felt the walls around him loosen. The crowd was still there, but it felt distant, irrelevant background noise rather than the oppressive weight it had been for months. They talked. Really talked. And something extraordinary happened. James laughed, not the careful, hollow laughter he used to mask emotions, not the clipped responses he relied on to avoid attention. This was raw, genuine, startling even to himself. Benita's humor was quiet, but piercing in its sincerity. She teased him gently for choosing boring vanilla, recounted small, funny anecdotes about school, and laughed at herself when she tripped over her words. Her questions weren't trivial. They lingered, thoughtful, making him pause before answering, making him feel seen without pressure. For the first time in what felt like forever, Rose's shadow receded. He wasn't replaying old conversations in his head. He wasn't wondering what he had done wrong. He wasn't carrying the gnawing weight of grief, anger, or exhaustion. He was simply here, present, alive. They shared fries, stealthily stole bites from each other's plates, and wandered through the mall in a comfortable rhythm. Ben chimed in occasionally, but mostly he observed, satisfied, letting the moment unfold naturally. Benita walked beside him without pushing or hurrying, matching his pace effortlessly. She listened when he spoke softly, laughed when he joked, and never made him feel inadequate or awkward. Every gesture, every glance, every subtle smile reminded him of something he had forgotten. Life could still feel light, even after pain. At one point, she stopped and looked at him directly. "You're quiet," she said gently, but not in a sad way. More like, "You've been through something." James swallowed, the truth heavy in his throat. He wanted to explain, wanted to untangle the fragile knot inside him, but the words refused to form. So he stayed silent, the unspoken weight suspended between them. She didn't press, only smiled softly, with understanding. "Well," she said, "whenever you're ready to talk, I'll listen." Those words, so simple, so unassuming, followed him long after they parted ways. When the day ended, they stood near the mall's exit. People rushed past in a blur of motion, but the moment between them felt suspended, timeless. Benita reached out, her fingers brushing lightly against his hand. "I hope I see you again, James," she said, eyes warm and sincere. "You seem like someone who deserves to be treated right." Then she turned, slipping back into the crowd, leaving him standing still, the weight of her words settling softly over him. For the first time in months, James felt something unfamiliar, something tender and electric. His heart didn't ache. It didn't throb with absence or longing. It felt full. A spark that promised new beginnings, the chance for laughter, the possibility of trust. A spark that might just be enough to pull him from the shadow of yesterday. And as he walked out of the mall, Ben's voice calling after him fading into the distance, James realized something he hadn't allowed himself to admit. Maybe life could be more than pain. Maybe it could be light again. Maybe it already was.